Large-scale anti-government protests continue in Iran, which began at the end of December due to the state of the Iranian economy and rising prices. According to media reports, protesters have taken control of the entire city of Abdanan in Ilan province, and security forces have laid down their arms and joined their side. Anti-government demonstrations and protests have spread to more than 50 cities and towns across the country, including regions that were previously considered loyal to the Iranian leadership. At the same time, violent clashes between protesters and police are taking place in other regions. The Iranian authorities are unsuccessfully trying to suppress the protests by force. For example, on January 6th, clashes broke out between security forces and protesters at Tehran's Grand Bazaar, and in the Malek Shahi district, security forces opened fire on a protest in front of government buildings. Radio Free Europe reports on the aftermath of the incident, citing a local resident.
Several innocent people were killed, mostly young people. The number of wounded was very high.
According to human rights activists, at least 36 people were killed during the protests. More than 1,200 protesters were arrested by security forces. Earlier, US President Donald Trump responded to the Iranian authorities' attempts to suppress the protests and threatened retaliation. On his social media, he stated,
"If Iran shoots and brutally kills peaceful protesters, as it usually does, the United States of America will come to their aid. We are ready to take action."
Iranian protesters are insisting on changes in the country's leadership, which threatens the fall of the Iranian regime.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was brought to a New York court, where he was officially read the charges against him. The BBC, citing a former New York prosecutor, notes that Maduro will likely insist that he has immunity from criminal prosecution. In turn, the US government will insist that it does not recognize Nicolas Maduro as the legitimate head of the Venezuelan state. Senator Lindsey Graham, against the backdrop of the US operation in Venezuela and large-scale anti-government protests in Iran, appeared on Fox News wearing a cap with the slogan, "Make Iran Great Again."
I sincerely pray and deeply hope that 2026 will undoubtedly be the momentous year when we collectively strive to make Iran truly great once again.
The Times newspaper, citing its sources, wrote that Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has already developed a plan to flee to Russia.
Ali Khamenei plans to flee Tehran together with his closest circle, consisting of 20 aides and family members, if he sees that the army and security forces called in to suppress the unrest are deserting, switching sides to the opposition, or refusing to follow orders.
The Times writes, the plan is based on the example of the ousted Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad's escape. Meanwhile, India has received a warning from the United States. Donald Trump has threatened to impose new tariffs. The US president emphasized that he could increase pressure on New Delhi since trade negotiations between the two sides remained fruitless.
US President Donald Trump is ready to intervene in the conflict between security forces and the population in Iran. He threatened the Iranian authorities with action if violent measures are taken against peaceful protesters. Trump made this statement on his social media.
If Iran shoots and brutally kills peaceful protesters, as it usually does, the United States of America will come to their aid. We are ready to take action.
As is known, protests in Iran have been ongoing for 5 days now due to the sharp drop in the national currency and the rapid rise in prices. Currently, the exchange rate is about 1.5 million Iranian rials to $1. Against this backdrop, food prices have soared by 60 to 70%. Shop owners, merchants, university students, as well as women's rights activists have taken to the streets to protest. Although the protests began as demonstrations against worsening living conditions, participants are also dissatisfied with the way Iran is being governed. The protesters are demanding changes in the country's leadership. Security forces are using brutal methods to suppress people, resulting in casualties and many injuries. According to media reports, at least 7 people have been killed and several dozen injured. It is also known that 7 people have been arrested. On the eve of the protest, US President Donald Trump stated that he would support new Israeli attacks on Iran if Tehran continues to work on missile development and its nuclear program. He said this before the start of talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Trump stated that if the nuclear program is resumed, the United States would have to destroy the nuclear facilities. At the same time, he expressed hope that it would not come to that.